Hi, everybody. I'm the key guy, am I?
Yeah.
This is Daryl and Chris, and we're here to talk to you about human design. We're covering a very, very basic introduction kind of level right at the minute. And Christopher, maybe you could just kick us off with, what is human design?
Well, let's start with the big picture, okay? The big picture is this. Look, this is the beginning, this introduction, you may see it elsewhere, but this is the introduction to human design for innovators and entrepreneurs.
Yeah,
now, we chose human design and innovators and entrepreneurs and put them together for a very specific reason.
absolutely.
And this is the second time we've done this course. The first time we went really technical.
Yeah, all the details, the nitty-gritties, nuts and the bolts
And everything like
all the
that.
bits that don't amuse half of you out there.
Exactly. This one, this time, the 2.0 version, is when we're going to really look at it from the point of view of practical people, particularly innovators and entrepreneurs. Now, if you're a mother and you run a business, or you're someone who doesn't run a business,
But you're on the PTA, or you run the sports club. Or
exactly,
you run the women's knitting group.
yeah, and you're going, what's
the
this
men's hockey club.
Right, exactly. What's this? I'm not an innovator and entrepreneur. Look, innovators and entrepreneurs are people on the cutting edge of life. Life needs innovators, and never more than now. At this point in history, innovation is the big thing happening, because humanity is evolving at such an incredibly rapid pace. Business, relationships, human beings are evolving at such a rapid pace that innovation is absolutely essential for our progress and our growth, and also for our enjoyment in life.
I've been studying lately and just realising that innovation is actually innate in the life of human beings, animals, every living thing, right down to the cell, is innovating and entrepreneuring. And that's why we're changing and evolving. Without innovation and entrepreneurship, life would be as it was thousands and thousands of years ago.
Right.
It's the only thing that's made it different.
Great. Absolutely true. And on top of that, you're an entrepreneur if you're taking responsibility for your own life, for the raising of your children, for the development of your business, for creating products that reach out and really help people in the world, or for just making your life better than it has been before. You're an entrepreneur, fundamentally. However, we're also going to explain this in terms that relate to people who are even acknowledged socially as innovators and entrepreneurs, because we want that spirit to infuse right through this whole program that we're running. And really, the key to that is innovators and entrepreneurs want to know what's going to work, what's going to help them in the real world.
And that's going to involve decision-making, isn't it?
It's going to involve decision-making, but it's also going to involve us explaining human design in a way that has not been done before.
Yeah.
Very clearly, without a lot of jargon, and very practically. And that's what we're aiming to do with this course. So the big picture is, in one sense, I began to explore that with you. The world is changing. Everybody is involved in that change in one way or another, even if it's resisting the change.
Yeah.
Even if it's bringing it into practical form and not making it so woo-woo. Or if you're out on the woo-woo edge, it's visioning and dreaming and coming up with new ideas. So this whole thing of world changing is right in everybody's face at the moment. It is happening in your life even if you don't want it to, because the world is changing. Now, on top of that, there is a need for that change to be brought into the reality of everyday life. Okay. You can see that in what's happening around the world politically. No matter how idealistic we are, there's still the people who are saying, yes, but how does this work in the real world? Dealing with what we're actually dealing with at the moment. So when you look at it, the big picture is the world is changing, And it's not changing in terms of our concepts and ideas and our ideals. It's changing in terms of the actual world is changing. So that those concepts and ideals that we have that really would make a difference in the world have a form of expressing themselves. So we need practical people and we need visionaries, and they need to work together. And the big picture with human design is this. Human design is a profound change in decision-making, in our decision-making process, making it as practical as possible. It's a profound change. Now, the way we've made decisions till now has been extremely influenced by mental awareness, by our minds. That is not the most effective way to make decisions. The problem with that is our mind views the world as we view a video game. And because it views the world that way, it tends to make decisions that are risky, impulsive, based on ideas without any real connection to what's happening physically in your life. Just like you do in a video game, you take crazy risks. You often do, and you become very, very strategic. But you're not really suffering the consequences of what happens in the game. If you blow it, if your business fails in a video game, oh, well, that was a learning experience. Let's go back a level and do it again, right? If your business fails in the real world, that has serious consequences, even to your esteem, apart from anything else, to your family, to the people you're involved with, to your employees, to everybody. Okay? Same thing if a relationship fails in a video game. Get rid of that, bring in a new one. If your relationship fails in the real world, it has consequences. Right? Now, I could go on about that for ages, but I won't. You get the point. Decision-making now needs to move to a level where we don't suffer as many negative consequences because we've learned enough from video games, history for the last tens of thousands of years, to have an idea of what works and what doesn't work. Now it's time to apply that in the real world. And because of that, decision-making has to change. And when we make decisions from our body, we're making decisions from a part of us that is totally invested in the real world. Right? If our body makes a decision, it also experiences the consequences of that decision very directly. It has experienced the consequences of mental decision-making for tens of thousands of years and has learned from that. You know, the problem with making decisions with our body is we think it's a primitive or an unsophisticated way of making decisions. Our mind is much more sophisticated. Yes, our mind is very sophisticated, but it's designed to work not only in this world like a video game, but beyond, imagining, dreaming, visioning, all that sort of stuff, right? So it's not really fully vested in what we have to deal with physically in our real life of being alive in this world. But our body is. You know, you make a decision in a relationship or in a business and your body's going to be fully invested in and experience the positive or the negative consequences of that decision. Now, not only that, our body contains instinctive awareness, it contains emotional awareness, and it has access to mental awareness. So it's able to make decisions in a more sophisticated way. And we have evolved to the point where our bodies now are fully capable of taking responsibility for making decisions in the world. Not only that, they will make more sophisticated, more accurate decisions because they're connected to the real world and they've got a completely vested interest in it. It's like if you're in business and you bring in an outside consultant who, you just pay by the hour and say, what's your opinion about this? Well, they'll give you their opinion from their point of view, take the money, and off they go. That's like your mind. When you get someone whose family income is involved because they're a part of the company, and then they take responsibility for making decisions, unless they're off in some fantasy land, when they really look at the reality, they're going to make decisions that take into account everybody concerned. Because if the company succeeds, they'll succeed. If they succeed, the company will succeed.
Yeah.
You'll make a decision about your family, because if the family succeeds, it'll benefit you, and if you're happy, the family will benefit. So that is why human design is a fundamental change, because it brings decision-making from the mind. In fact, the good news for the mind is it empowers the mind to do its original job far more effectively, because it's no longer burdened with decision-making. So it can vision, dream, come up with great ideas, come up with all sorts of new possibilities, entertain itself, do all this great stuff.
It's like it becomes one of the decision-making contributors at the board table, but it's not the only director at the board table.
Yeah, it's not the final decision-maker.
Yeah.
But it gets to present its full
contribution and understanding of things.
Absolutely. And the body, wow. Well, let's explain why decision-making is so important. Okay. A great decision will give you two things. It will inform you of, do you have the energy to do this right now? And number two, it'll tell you, is the timing right? Now, those are the two most practical and important things that any decision will give you. And it's the most important thing in any time when you take an idea or a business plan or a vision for your family and implement it in the real world. Yeah. Manifest it, people call it.
If you're going to make a decision in business, you need to know you've got the money in the bank, the people, resources, whatever resources are required to produce your greatest, latest new idea. If you don't have the resources, then just even get started is a guaranteed way to fail, because you won't get to the end.
If you don't have the energy and the timing isn't right, that's really number one, not number two. If you don't have the energy and the timing isn't right, your back is against the wall. And that's been demonstrated by studies of the success of relationships and business for decades now, So it's really important to have a way of making decisions that tells you when you have the energy to do something and when the timing is right. And you want that to be accurate. The mind is not the most accurate way of doing that. In fact, if you look at history, the mind gets very strategic trying to deal with this, and often makes decisions with a lot of negative consequences for many of the people involved. It'll often save a certain group and devastate another one. It'll make one group right and the other group wrong. This is just simple examples, but if you really look at the effect on the world, this has been very painful for a long time. Now, you can learn a bit, you can learn a lot from facing pain and dealing with it, but there comes a point where you need to let the pain go and take the lessons and heal and move on and have a great life. That's the big picture about human design. Now, one other thing it does, as you start making decisions, you start living the life that really suits you. And when you live the life that suits you, you start turning up as who you really are. You start getting in touch with the talents that you really have, and you start moving into places where you're surrounded by the people who are right for you. Now,
that's a big difference from, the homogenized way we've been raised in school, where, okay, you obviously, you're doing well at maths, so you need to become an accountant, or some sort of mental construct of assessing somebody's potential, where in fact, energetically and in our nature of life, we have inside our bodies, there's wisdom as well that we fail to tap into so often when we're just operating in a homogenized, conditioned way. Not that there's anything wrong with considering all of those factors, but they leave out the crucial factor of the wisdom of our bodies and all the history that's behind that evolution. For example, when we were, only instinctively motivated, that wisdom hasn't left our modern bodies. It's still in there, but it becomes ignored because of homogenization oftentimes. And so we don't listen to our instincts, or we don't listen to our gut, or we don't listen to our emotions, which are more ancient forms in some cases, especially in the case of the instincts and the gut, more ancient than the wisdom of the mind. And we need to combine these wisdoms. It's not an either or situation. It's a combination situation. And that's what we're bringing to the table, I think, with this understanding of human design, as it appears to me. And we're actually moving as a species to another form of wisdom that we're going to get to, in terms of the emotional wisdom. And that, again, is not an either or option. It's an addition to the package. It's like upgrading. Yeah, upgrading your computer, upgrading your computing device from just the mental to the mental plus the physical.
Good. So here's the beautiful thing. This change and human design are perfectly synchronized together. Human design is not just the latest, greatest, idea. It's not even like your old astrology or whatever. It's not trying to replace science. It's taking benefits from it. It's not trying to replace genetics. It's based on genetics. It's based on the cutting edge of science, but it's also based on ancient wisdoms. Not the whole of them, but taking the essential elements that each one brought and combining them together. And that's a very beautiful thing. When you're, in a sense, not denying anything, but bringing the best of everything to the table. Yeah. That's one of the hidden messages of human design is we're not denying anything. We're bringing everything to the table so we can all contribute. And the other thing that adds to what Daryl said is that not only do you make great decisions, but you come to the table as who you really are, which means you get to enjoy your life, the life you were born to have, and run your business or your family or relate to people from the point of view of this is me.
In harmony with who you are.
Yeah, in harmony, beautifully put, in harmony with who you are. And that gives permission to people around you to do the same. Now, we are now at a point in history where we have to work together or else. Just to put it mildly, it's either nuclear war or we work together. I mean, that's the big picture, but that happens even between individuals. And Daryl and our experience together, working together over several years now, has been we can only really get the best out of each other when we give permission for the other person to be fully who they are. And you can't do that if you're not doing that yourself. So that's one of the huge things. It's not just the big picture. It's not even just what human design is about, but it's what's in it for you. You get to be yourself, and you get to make great decisions, and you get to have a good time doing it, and you get to give to those who you care for and love the very best of who you are, and you set yourself up for the way in which the future is unfolding. You're not retreating back into the past, nor are you denying the past. You're actually moving into the future, drawing upon the best of the past, but preparing yourself for what the future brings. it enables you to do what you do best and at the same time receive everything that life has to offer to you. Now, just saying that, Daryl and I have worked very hard on really getting this simple right down to what the fundamentals are. And yet even that I've just shared sounds like, whoa, that's a lot. When you're living your human design, it's not. Human design makes that far less overwhelming because you don't have to get the idea from Daryl and I and then implement it tomorrow or else you're a failure or whatever. Human design is organic. As my partner loves to say, when we're talking about various things, I just say, because she speaks a different language, we both know the word organic. And, when I turn around and say, this is going to happen naturally over time, you can do it at your own pace in the way that, works for you. You're not under pressure. You don't have to rush. But if you grow into this, it will really work for you in a healthy way. We just look at each other and say, organic. And she goes, oh, organic. I understand. Kaujai. I understand. Right? So human design is really like that. And what's in it for you? Hey, you get to grow at a pace that suits you. You get to have a great time doing this. And it makes sense in terms of practical realities, how you deal with other people, how you run your business. You get to liberate your mind from the burden of having to run your life. So it's empowered to go and do all these extraordinary things. Visioning, dreaming, imagining, coming up with great ideas, sharing your perspective of the world. Amazing stuff it likes to do. And you get to, one of the things Daryl is most passionate about, you get to use the parts of you that were most vulnerable to being conditioned by other people to do things any other way except the way you're designed to do it, any other way than you would enjoy doing it. You get to use those parts of you that are most vulnerable to being conditioned as they become the parts of you that are most open to receive the bounty that life has for you.
They're like the child in you, really. They're the infant that has no preconditions, has no predispositions, has no point of view. They're like the child. I've got a 4-year-old child. She doesn't have many preconditions and dispositions about a lot of things in life. She'll get them over time because that's the nature of growing up in humanity. But the parts of us that you'll see as we move through this program of Human Design for Innovators and Entrepreneurs, there are parts in us. It could be your mind, it could be your emotional center, it could be your heart center, it could be your will center. It could be any one of 9 different centers that exist in you. It could be a completely open, vulnerable center like my 4-year-old. But this is a tremendous opportunity, if it's not going to be conditioned, to receive inspiration, ideas, whole new ways of doing things, different perspectives on life that could just change life for everybody on the planet. So that's what this course is going to reveal to you.
The part Daryl is talking about is the part that really allows you to understand and comprehend that you are not alone and you're not doing this on your own, and you'll never be alone unless you just shut that down. I mean, you can choose. That doesn't mean you won't have any time for yourself. You'll have plenty of time for yourself. This is organic, right? You will have time to yourself. But it will give you a very direct, practical experience of that you are not alone. And you can be yourself. And you can make great decisions. Okay, now, just to wrap this little bit up, the program version 2, program 1, Human Design for Innovators and Entrepreneurs 2.0, you're looking forward to 28 modules. Look, as we improve and tweak this, it might change. There might be 29 or 30 or
26.
26. Right? We might find, hey, we don't need to do all that. But 28 modules, each of them explaining a certain part of the chart, but only for the purpose that you really understand what that chart is doing for you and how it really anchors in your real life.
How you practically apply it in your daily life.
Exactly.
What to do with it today.
Yeah. And for the rest of your life, right? Then we're also going to go into how to practically apply this in your real life, very specifically. And what are the indicators? Because the last what's in it for you in human design is this. If you really want one more reason to do it. Depending on your particular function as a person, if you're making decisions that frustrate you, it's going to show you how to make decisions that bring you complete satisfaction. You can go from frustration to satisfaction. Or if you've got a different function, from feeling bitter about how life has ignored you and let you down, and people have let you down, yes, especially people have let you down, to really feeling like you're a success irrespective of what's going on in the world outside of you.
Or what people say or don't say about you.
Exactly, thank you. Or if you've got a different function, being angry at the world because you can't do your thing.
People are getting in your way and saying no all the time.
You know that one really well. That's Daryl's function. 2, really being at peace with yourself no matter what other people are doing.
And doing what you want anyway.
Yes. Or from being disappointed in life, why am I stuck in this situation, to really experiencing delight at what life is bringing into your life. Now, those are huge shifts.
And one of them relates to you.
One of them relates to
you
you
right now.
Yeah. That's a huge shift. From frustration to satisfaction, from bitterness at other people to feeling successful no matter what they're doing, from anger to peace with what you're doing, from disappointment to being delighted by what life reveals to you. Actually, all of those are available to you. One of them is absolutely crucial for your well-being.
One of them is your predominant signature in the way you express your life, isn't it?
Yeah. Now, just to wrap this up, as we go into that and you connect with that, there's going to be the modules, but there's also going to be what we call commentaries to go with the modules. So you'll get a chance to learn the information, and then either myself or Daryl, or maybe Daryl and me together, will do commentaries. I'm doing most of them at the moment, but we're looking at changing that around a little bit as well. But those commentaries will be my feedback on what I experienced when I did the module, and tweaking and fine-tuning anything that that I thought, well, here's how you'll practically apply it. So it's going to be very organic. You can move at your own pace. You can eat it all at once, or you can take your time, depending on your nature. And there'll be other bonuses and good things that there'll be PDFs and printed material we'll email to you that you can print out and look at as an explanation that you're listening to and an explanation you're looking at. Yeah. To go with a lot of the modules.
So there's video, audio, and everything to help you digest this information.
Yeah. And there'll be chances to interact with us as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so enjoy this program. It's, what would you say, it's our signature program? It's
Master Your Human Design's signature program, and quite likely our mission in life, the rest of our life, to bring this understanding and consciousness of this to the world for the benefit of people.
Yeah. We want human design to be easy to understand. Look, it's a complex system, but it doesn't have to be super complicated if we make the effort to make the languaging, the examples, and the application of it step by step and simple, and you're not trying to eat it all at once.
You don't have to know how to fix a car to drive a car and enjoy it.
Exactly.
And we're going to teach you how to drive a car and enjoy it. But for those of you that are more curious, we will give you enough information to learn how to fix the car and maintain it in other ways as well.
Exactly. Exactly. So,
Christopher, I'm only interested in driving.
Yeah, I know how to drive, but I also know how to tweak and find. I'm like one of these people who's a racing car driver who loves to get in
Who's
there.
a mechanic.
Who also gets in there and tunes the car and works with the mechanics and, really makes it sing. So the car that I'm driving in is just exactly set up the way I want it. And that's what you can do if that's what you like to do, or you can just jump in the car and drive it because you're not trying to win a race. You're just trying to enjoy the drive. Up to you. Okay, so welcome to a program where human design is aimed at people on the cutting edge, people who are here to make a difference, people who want to make life better, not only make life better, but renew their life. Innovators, entrepreneurs. Welcome from both of us. Enjoy this program. Talk to you soon.
See you soon. Bye-bye.